Gov was like a lot of people who thought that, this was going to be the guy. And for years, even before they hired Rich Rod, knowing Tom Milliken as long as I did, he always said Harbaugh, 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 Harbaugh. He finally got his boy, and his boy has not delivered.
See, when I wanted him in the early days, like right after Lloyd, there was some risk there, and I knew that there was the drama with what he said about academics and all that crap. Once he had his success with Stanford, but more importantly, the Niners, I thought it was just an automatic. Like, I've never felt so confident probably about something in my life in sports than that he would make Michigan a national contender again. And by that, I thought when I thought there would be a war with Urban, and eventually, Urban would probably move on, and then he would take it over. And it hasn't happened. And I don't think it's a talent issue. I think it's a coaching issue. I didn't realize that he would not adjust to what college football is since he coached it the previous time, and it's been so slow. I do believe Ohio State still gets more talent, but I don't think the discrepancy is as much. To me, it's a coaching issue. It's just a stubbornness, a lack of maybe allowing Gaddis to just completely run the show offensively. But I'm stunned that he has not made them a national power. I'm flabbergasted by it.
So we're asking the question: what in sports, or who in sports, I should say, were you most wrong about? And I can go back into famous declarations that I made. I mean, I thought Brett Favre was done at one point. I said he'd never win another playoff game, and he ended up going to an NFC Championship game. He won quite a few playoff games. I was definitely awesome. Wrong about that as far as persons. I was also wrong about a team. I thought the Miami Heat were dead in 2006, was it, Gov? I think. And they went and won the NBA championship. So I think we've all been wrong.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're all wrong. I mean, you're going to be wrong. You're going to get in this business, you're going to be wrong. If you're a fan, you're going to be wrong.
All right, and it's okay to be wrong.
I just say, to me, I think we all agree he was the perfect hire.
Yes. There's no doubt about he was the perfect hire.
Yeah.
It's just there's nothing I can compare to that where I've just been absolutely floored by what ended up happening.
See, I was never of the mindset that it was going to be just flipping a switch for Coach Harbaugh to come in and instantly be – I thought we would have a Big Ten championship by now. I thought maybe we would have a seat at the table in regards to the college football playoffs. But the one that I was most wrong about was Brady Hoke. I thought – and part of this is because my knowledge of him and my relationship with him, he was a defensive line coach when I was at Michigan. I had stayed in touch with him when he was at Ball State and San Diego State. I felt like him coming here it wasn't flashy in my mind, and he's not flashy. I thought that there was going to be a step up in recruiting. And by that step up in recruiting, I thought it was going to be a resurgence of Michigan's offensive and defensive lines. And I just never saw that. Some of that was his inability to make changes in the coaching staff. It was identifying some of that young talent, but especially after winning 10 games in his first year, which I know were all with Rich Rod guys, I thought that they were going to be a contender and that they were going to be back in the conversation and relevant on a yearly basis. And I was wrong.
A lot of people were wrong on Rich Rod, too.
I never bought into Coach Rodriguez.
Nobody thought it was going to be that bad, though.
I didn't think it was a good fit from the beginning. And knowing that he had never been in Ann Arbor, that he was – and the issue that I had was when you leave your team, your school. He was a West Virginia guy. Mm-hmm. And I know that there were some things in administration that they disagreed, but the way that he left there, if you're going to leave your school in that situation, why would we believe that he had any different feeling for Michigan?
You're right.
Or for any other school?
Did you guys listen to Valenti and Rico yesterday around 5 o'clock? They went through that SI story.
No.
So there's a story on SI.com, several sources, all anonymous, just talking about the Harbaugh thing and how it didn't work out or hasn't worked out. And it's damning. And there's, he still wants to have some control on the offense and just rubbing players the wrong way and things like that. And it looks like Mike said it. I'll give him the credit. Like, this is looking like we're headed for an ending here.
Well, I don't give a lot of credit to stories that have sources say or
But I don't buy that. That's like saying you didn't believe Watergate because of sources. I mean, sometimes people who are around the team, players, whatever, they'll talk to the press, but they're not going to give their name because they're still on the team or parents of players who hear stuff. So I don't automatically
don't go to the media. That's the question that I have is why would you go and put this out there if you're not if you don't want to at least put your name on it?
Because it hurts your kid if it's a parent, let's say, and your kid doesn't.
How does it hurt me ever any less now that it's still out there?
Yeah, I understand that, but if you're okay, I'm just using it as an example. Well, forgetting using a particular player. You're the parent of a kid. Okay, let's say he's a good player, but he doesn't get along with the coach or whatever, and he happens to know somebody in the media. He tells them, and it's true. What he's telling is true. But listen, don't use my name because I don't want my kid to be benched or anything like that.
Well, what's the benefit? What's the benefit to that player of talking to somebody in the media and saying, I'm unhappy here?
It's a story. It's because somebody's working on a story, and the story is that this coach is not working out. So you have anecdotal evidence, anonymous sources. Most times, anonymous sources, not just in sports, but in news stories as well, a lot of times they're correct. Now, they are wrong sometimes. Sometimes people do have agendas. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, major stories have occurred because of anonymous sources. That's like saying, don't believe in journalism anymore, really, is what you're saying.
Well, I would like to I do have an issue with a lot of journalists these days and their sources. And that's just me personally.
Okay.
Because when I was in Washington, it was always sources say about, Dan Snyder or about, what was going on in the building. And I was there and most of them were wrong, or they were from a disgruntled player that was just trying to change the narrative in regards to whether he wanted a new contract, wanted out, wanted a coach fired. That's again, it's my perspective. And I just have a hard time with sources say.
Here's somebody who I thought I was wrong about. I thought Stan Van Gundy was going to work here. And I still think,
a good one.
And I still think he was a good coach. He just shouldn't have had the player personnel part of it.
Yes.
And I think he's going to do a pretty good job in New Orleans if he doesn't he calms down his yelling a little bit.
He was the Bill O'Brien of the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
You know what Harbaugh's done for me, though, is to just beware, because I think Yzerman was pretty much the perfect hire for the Red Wings. It doesn't mean that it's going to work.
Yes, you're right. You're correct. Hopefully, Yzerman will work. And I like, by the way, what they signed Mantha for.
Yeah.
A very fair contract, 4 years. By the way, we've been talking about, you can't get rid of Harbaugh because who's going to coach him? And we've mentioned some names that I like. Luke Fickell, Stoops at Kentucky because he's recruited here. How about this name? And you may laugh because he wasn't really successful before he got in trouble, but now he's done a great job, and I think it's time for him to get back coaching a major program. Sarkisian. And I know, his past.
Yep.
But, man, Steve Sarkisian is a brilliant offensive mind.
He is. I think for him to make the comeback, it's going to have to be in the NFL first.
Really?
I do, only because of his past.
Did he go to was he with Atlanta or someplace?
I think it was Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he's going to have to, being a college coach with baggage such as that, it's a lot harder, especially for one of the more visible programs. Or maybe he comes back at a less visible, like Lane Kiffin did. And not that Lane had anything in regards to what Sarkisian went through, but you've got to prove it at a less visible program, and then you start working your way back up.